Views and opinions expressed by the guest on What You Got to Say are not necessarily the views and opinions of the show or host unless otherwise stated.
Hey, what's up, everybody? And welcome to What You Got to Say. I'm your host, Gerard Neal, for about the next 30 minutes or less. So let's get to it. So last week in part one of Come On Man, Be the Man, I talked about how some men have failed in their roles as leaders and how some don't even know that from day one, that's the role God put them in. And then I talked about how some of them never had another man to show them how to lead. So they just sat back and let the women do everything and make all the decisions. Then I talked a little bit about an article that I read from Jolene Engel, where she gives 14 reasons why men or husbands don't lead their families. But I only touched on about 7 of them. I also talked about some of the consequences that may happen from men not leading their families and some positive things single men can do to at least lead their children in spite of not being in the same household with them. Now this week, I'm going to hit my second point and talk about you got to be financially responsible and provide for your family. Come on, man. Be the man. And oh, by the way, if you ever want to make a comment or suggestion, you can reach me via email at whatyougottosay@yahoo.com. That's WUTUGOT, 2SAY@yahoo.com. And on my Facebook page at Gerard Neal, that's JERRODNEAL. And you can also reach me at Instagram at What You Got to Say, WUTUGOT, 2SAY. When I come back on the air Friday, January the 6th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, yes, since I'm on vacation, I'm going to take a break as well. So I'm going to take a week break for myself. Next Friday, December the 30th, 2022, I won't be on the YouTube channel, but we'll be back on Friday, January the 6th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And to all of you in Colorado, the state of Washington, California, Texas, Georgia, Florida, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, Kentucky, Virginia, and Indiana, thank you for watching my YouTube channel live, or whether you go back and watch the recording. It's much appreciated. I'd like to, by June of 2023, pick up listeners in at least the last remaining states. So if you get a chance to share my YouTube channel with others, and with one click, you can subscribe to the channel, and it doesn't cost you anything. When I come back next year, I'm going to start sharing some of the comments I receive via email in my YouTube channel with you on air, and may even respond to some of them. As I will always say, you can pretty much say what you want, and the government can pass all the laws they want to. It doesn't mean I have to agree with them, and you don't have to agree with me. That's why I don't push hit the like button on my channel, because that's not what I'm going for. I'm sharing information, giving a different point of view, and pushing back on a lot of stuff many people don't agree with. They're just scared to speak up, or they don't care. Michael Jackson said something in one of his hit songs that I've heard before, but I never really paid any attention to the words until a few days ago. He said, "If you can't feed the baby, then don't have a baby. And don't think maybe if you can't feed the baby." Man, I get so tired of some of these sorry men out here hiking their pants up all the way below their chest, talking about, I'm the man, I'm running things. And they ain't running nothing but their mouth. As I touched on a little last week, they got a wife, kids, some got no wife, 95 kids all over, the responsibilities with no job, ain't worked in 5 years, ain't looking for a job. But you the man. Come on, man. Be the man. And women, before y'all start talking about that's right, y'all accepting it. So check y'all self before you start talking about that's right. But I'm going to get to y'all later when I talk about whoa, man. That's WHOAMAN. Because some of y'all need to slow your roll. Always trying to be the man. My bad. I digressed. But as I stated a minute or two ago, some of you married men got a wife, kids, all the other financial responsibilities, and you ain't handling your business. You're irresponsible with your finances. Get paid on Friday, and come Monday morning, you're dead broke. Lights getting cut off, barely enough food in the refrigerator to feed your family, and you got your family one missed check away from being homeless. But you the man. One of the things you must do as a man of your house is make sure financially your family is taken care of. And one of the ways you can do this is by having, my first point, a life insurance policy. According to a recent survey of Life Happens, only 53% of men reporting having a life insurance policy in place, meaning 47% don't have any. One way, married man, you can assure that your family doesn't meet financial hardship upon your death, whether sudden or not, is to make sure you have some sort of monetary insurance policy. Even if it's just enough to pay for the funeral, pay the house off, or any outstanding debt that you may leave, you need to have a life insurance policy. I've seen too many times lately when there's no life insurance policy and the husband died, and it oftentimes leads to the spouse having to go to family members, their local congregations, social agencies, or now people are starting GoFundMe pages just to bury their loved ones. And once they're in the ground, more financial troubles lie ahead. So fellas, while you're on this side of town, go get a life insurance policy so that your family isn't caught up in a bind. And if you happen to check out, you want to make sure they're taken care of. And also make sure that the beneficiary is your family and not your girlfriend. The second thing as a man you must do to make sure you're taking care of your family financially is think about your family's future. You see, too many times, us men, we want to live in the moment as opposed to thinking about the future. We want to buy the biggest house, the most expensive car, party every weekend, eat out at the most expensive restaurants. We want to go out of our way to have the finest of everything. Now, I'm not saying not to enjoy life or the fruits of your labor, but when you have a family, I'm of the mindset that your family is top priority. I remember when we lived in Florida, my associates, not friends, they were associates, used to tell me, man, if I was you, I would be driving a Benz. Number one, I don't drive foreign cars. Matter of fact, I don't even allow them to park in my driveway. Or I would be living over there, and my response was always, I got a wife and 2 young kids. What if I lose my job and I got all that what I deem to be excessive stuff? Now I got my family in a bad financial situation. The car that I had at that time, I didn't have no problems with it. It got me from point A to point B. The house that I lived in was very comfortable. Didn't have any leaks in the roof. No broken windows. The AC worked. I'm good. If that's what you want, I would tell them, I'm not faulting you, but my priorities are a little different. And that's why you're not me. And my third point ties in with my second point. But as a man with a family, when you live on the financial edge, which I like to call the just because I can stuff, it oftentimes doesn't leave a lot of room for emergency funds or tangible cash just in case something goes wrong. Man, I'm not saying you should spend every waking moment worried about, I gotta have X amount of dollars on hand, but you should always have a sum of money set aside just in case stuff hits the fan. I know a handful of people off the top of my head who found themselves in a financial bind, and I've gotten a call, bruh, I need your help. And if I felt the situation warranted, I helped. But for some of those folks, I was thinking, I didn't verbalize it out loud, but I was thinking, you just had 50 people at your house for a get-together. Every time I talk to you, y'all just getting back from some exotic vacation. And every weekend, y'all eating out. Instead of 50 guests, have 10 and have them to bring something with them. Instead of an exotic vacation, go somewhere you can travel by car and start cooking your meals and eat out as a reward as opposed to cause you can. So when you make that change of money behavior and start putting some away, now you put your family in a better financial situation when something goes wrong, and you're not having to go to others and go into debt to get things taken care of. And the last thing you want to do is build up a lot of debt going to the extreme when you just could have been comfortable. Get rid of a lot of wants and take care of the needs, and you won't find yourself scratching your head when stuff hits the fan. You see, a lot of us men have been working at the same job or in the same career field for so long that we always think financially we're going to be okay, and we don't put anything away for rainy days because we know another paycheck is coming. And then all of a sudden, my fourth point, you lose your job. Wow. Did you know the second leading cause of divorce in America is finances or some kind of financial problem? But I thought you said for better or for worse. My bad. There I go meddling again. But sometimes some of us men, we get into what I like to call a financial mindset routine. We go to work, we get our checks, we pay our bills. We go to work, we get our checks, we indulge a little. We go to work, we get our check, we take a family trip. All the while still forgetting to put some cash to the side. And then, as I said, we lose our jobs or careers for whatever reason or reasons, and we barely have $2,000 in the bank. You know, a part of being financially responsible so that your family doesn't suffer too bad if you lose your job is by understanding that tomorrow's not promised. Here's a free piece of advice. One of the ways you can assure yourself of always having some tangible funds in case of layoff or loss of job is by taking advantage of any pre-tax investment or matching funds opportunity that your job is offering upon your initial employment. Once when I was laid off through no fault of my own, And even before it happened, I thought about my family's financial future, got with a financial planner, and figured out how to get the most bang for my buck. All the pre-tax breaks I could find, I took advantage of them. I started putting money in Roth IRAs, stock markets, bonds, certificate of deposits, which are CDs, properties, because I knew that the times got hard, I could see some of that money or get some of that money from these accounts I had set aside as a bridge until I found another job. I never had the funds in my hands, so I didn't miss it. Yes, I would have to pay a penalty on early withdrawal, but just the fact that I had the money there kept me and my family from running into financial difficulties. I would say, never take a job that you're going to lose, but always have at the forefront of your mind, if I do, I need as much accessible cash as possible just in case. And then, men, you say you do lose your job. What you gonna do? Bills still gotta be paid. Your family still gotta eat. Kids need clothing, etc. Which leads me to my fifth point. Some men, they lose their jobs and they have too much pride to do anything other than what they were doing before they lost their job, or they refuse to take a pay cut. Come on, man. Be the man. Your responsibility, man, is to make sure your family is financially taken care of. It's not your wife's job. It's your job. You know, sometimes what you were doing before that opportunity or salary or hourly wage may not be available, and you got to do what you got to do. Ain't no time for getting in your feelings. You know, Monday through Friday, I go to work in a suit and a tie, or what this new term is, business casual dress. I'm in AC all day. Probably 90% of the time, my job deals with sitting, finding solutions, recruiting new union members, dealing with administrators, and handling union members' issues. The only time I may sweat is when I leave the office or leave a school heading to my car. I remember back in 2013, taking a job up here in Columbus. And after the company moved me, my family, and all our belongings from 90-degree weather in Florida, I realized after all was said and done, the job wasn't half of what they said it was. And 6 months later, we parted ways. Once again, I was fortunate enough to have planned financially for my family in emergency situations, but I still had bills to pay. What no time to be talking about, I got this degree and I can only work in this time of job and I need to make this type of money. No, I was thinking I got to find a job to take care of my family. Wasn't no time to have pride. Besides, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:18. Man, I went and got me a real estate license. I sold houses. I bought distressed properties, rehabbed them, flipped them, hung drywall, formed and poured concrete, put up privacy fences, worked in a warehouse sneezing all day because I'm allergic to dust, and was even willing to get back on the assembly line for one of the big three automakers that I had previously worked for 7 years, if that's what I had to do financially to take care of my family. I just recently bought an old pickup truck, and my wife calls it another toy for me. And I said, no, it's another opportunity to make money if something goes wrong. And no, I didn't forget you single men. And I'm going to go a little light on y'all, because a lot of the stuff I had said about the married men apply to you as well. But some of you single men, you making babies and ain't thinking about taking care of them from a financial standpoint, currently or in the future. You riding around in your nice car, got a nice apartment or house, got a few dollars put away, always looking fresh, hanging out with your boys, jet setting all over the country. Yet those kids you fathered, their mothers got to get them to and fro any way she can. Sometimes they're living in sub-housing or with relatives. Your baby's mamas have to borrow a few dollars here and there to get by. And when she needs a break, you can't even take a day or two to take care of your kids. But you the man, come on man, you just a sperm donor. I was reading an article by Gavin Sharpless, and he says, and I'm going to read it, real men take care of and support their families always, in all ways. The greatest honor and the duty of any man can have bestowed of him is the honor and privilege of being put in a position where his purpose in life is to support, love, protect, and provide for his family. Some of these single men out here with babies, when they get mad at their ex-girlfriend or wife, the first thing you want to do is cut off the financial support. Just cause you mad at your ex, cause y'all no longer together and she's moved on, don't mean you got to stop taking care of your financial support for your kids, the money that they need to survive. You weren't mad when you were doing the grown-up and made the baby. I'm not going to hit you single men with a biblical word just yet. I'm going to hit you with the word of law. Let me read it, and it says, federal child support enforcement became possible with the passage of the Child Support Recovery Act in 1992. The CSRA aimed to deter non-payment of state-ordered support obligations through prosecution of the most egregious offenders. While federal prosecution efforts were successful under the CSRA, some law enforcement agency found that the simple misdemeanor penalties provided under the act did not have the force to deter the most serious violators. The problem with enforcement under CSRSA was remedied with the passage of the Debate Parent Punishment Act in 1998, or I should say the Deadbeat Parent Punishment Act in 1998. The act created new categories of federal felonies for the egregious child support violators. And I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to Section 228 of Title 18 under the United States Code, makes it illegal for an individual to willfully fail to pay child support in certain circumstances. Lastly, the statute prohibits individuals obligated to pay child support from crossing state lines or fleeing the country with the intent to avoid paying child support. And when you get time, you go back and read the entire act and the sections of the federal laws. I'm going to read this, and I'm done until next year. But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. That's 1 Timothy 5, verse number 8. Before I sign off until next year, it's been fun and challenging at times to bring you something different, and hopefully worth the while of my YouTube channel, What You Got to Say. But from some of the stuff I hear and see being presented as gospel, and the constant stuff being accepted and pushed down society's throats, sometimes irks me. So I'm going to keep speaking out for millions across the land who believe in what I believe, but for some reason won't say anything. Although my truth may not be your truth, God in the end will tell us all the truth. Before I sign off, I want to give a shout out to my wife, daughter, and son for holding on to the edge of their seats, because half the time they have no clue of what I'm about to say. And I know they're probably thinking, oh Lord, what are you going to say today? As I sign off, remember, 2 ears and 1 mouth makes you a better person. In other words, listen more than you talk. Until next time, peace.